Reign of Shadows, Chapter 7. Tren Krom stood on the shore of what had been his island for so many thousands of years. His home, his prison, his place of torment. For almost as long as he could remember, he had been trapped here by the power of the great beings. By all rights, he should hate them and their creation Metru Nui and want revenge. Strangely, he did not. Yes, he had raged against his imprisonment and vowed vengeance more than once, but as time passed, he grew wiser, recalling the old saying that no one fights in a burning house. Pulling down the great being's creation would not profit him at all. In fact, it would mean his death as well. And, despite having been pushed aside for Metru Nui more than 100,000 years ago, Tren Krom still felt a sense of responsibility for the universe he once looked after. That was why he had tricked Lewa Nuva Lewa into swapping bodies with him, so he could escape the island at last. What he hadn't counted on was that he would not get Lewa's power over air in the bargain. Without this, and with no boat or air vehicle, he had no way to leave the shore. Still, that was no worry. He knew who had sent Lewa to him, and so he knew the answer to his power. Ataka, hear me. It was a telepathic message projected over an unimaginable distance, yet the answer came within seconds. I am here, Tren Krom. I see you are still resourceful. The body will be of use, Tren Krom conceded, but only if I can travel in it to Metru Nui. You can make that happen. And should I unleash you on the universe then? Wondered Ataka. The great beings bound you for a reason, so that Metru Nui could rule with no rivals. Tren Krom cursed. Stop wringing your hands, you ancient fool. If you did not need me free, why did you send the Toa? You knew what I would do. Ataka sent no message back. Instead, the world around Tren Krom began to shimmer and fade. When his vision was clear again, he was standing in a subterranean tunnel filled with a collection of broken equipment and dust-covered artifacts. He had never physically been to this place before, but he knew what it was. The Metru Nui Archives. My thanks, he thought. Ataka's reply was stern. See that you carry out your end of the bargain, Tren Krom, and do not even think of keeping a body that is not yours. I will find a way to destroy it before I will let you steal it for all eternity. Tren Krom ignored him. He was more concerned with finding his way to where he needed to go before Makuta Pterodax acted to stop him. The archives were a labyrinth of tunnels, and none of the minds he had read recently knew the layout. He reached out, looking for a sapient being nearby who might know how to navigate the maze. He found something else entirely. His mind brushed against another, one of incredibly strong will and ambition. Before he could probe deeper, he heard figures approaching. Readying Toa Lewa's weapon, Tren Krom braced for an attack. Lewa! Look, it's Toa Lewa! The happy cry came from a Matoran villager. A quick scan of his mind revealed his name was Kapura, and his companion was Hafu. But it was the blue-armored female that travelled with them that most intrigued Tren Krom. Isn't it great, Hafu? Now we have two Toa with us, Lewa and Tuyet. Tuyet? Tren Krom took the time to read her mind, being none too subtle about it. He saw her past efforts to take over the universe, and her plans to try again in future. This one was powerful and dangerous, but she might be useful as well. For her part, Tuyet just smiled. She knew this was no Toa of air who stood before her. She had never met Lewa Nuva, but no air warrior wearing a mask of levitation had the kind of mental powers she sensed. So who was this really? And why was he disguising himself as a Toa Nuva? If you are opposed to Makuta, then your help will be very ever liked. Tren Krom said, hastily adding in some tree speak for the benefit of the Matoran. I'm sure, said Toa Tuyet. You have a plan, I take it? If I did not, I'm sure you would, Tren Krom replied, looking her right in the eyes. Perhaps we can quick help each other? What a break, Kapura said, smiling. Don't you think so, Hafu? The Pomatoran looked from Toa Tuyet, who he didn't trust, to Lewa Nuva, who didn't seem like himself. Yeah, wonderful, he muttered. The small group waited until nightfall. Then they slipped out of the archives, heading for the Colosseum. Along the way, they passed Toa Pooks and Toa Bamonga, casually strolling through the city as if nothing was wrong. Who are they? Asked Tuyet. Traitors to the Toa cause? They're the Toa Haga, Kapura explained. Something happened to them. No one knows what. But they walk right past Rakshi like the monsters aren't even there. He shrugged. Intrigued, Tren Krom touched the minds of the two Toa Haga. Ah, he thought. A simple trick. Pterodex made these Toa see a false reality where all is peace and serenity. For them, it is an ironclad illusion they could never break free of on their own. But for me, a fraction of Tren Krom's mental power tore Makuta's artificial reality to bits. Pooks and Bamonga shook their heads, as if waking from a dream. Even as he restored them to the real world, Tren Krom sent his power cascading to the minds of the other Toa Haga, freeing them as well. Perhaps fortune will smile on Metru Nui, and these Toa will return to their senses soon, Tren Krom said. Time will tell. It usually does, said Tuyet. What will time tell about us, I wonder? Tren Krom looked at her. Hopefully, nothing either of us would regard with shame. Oh no, of course not, she replied with a chuckle. Where are we going? Asked Hafu. And do I really want to know? Tren Krom pointed to the Colosseum. There, I have a message for Metru Nui. It may mean the difference between life and death for everyone. Metru Nui? Asked Hafu, incredulous. But Metru Nui isn't there. Makuta Pterodax exiled him from the universe. Maybe killed him. How are you going to get a message to him? And what could he do to help us now anyway? Tren Krom looked at the Pomatoran. A strange smile came to Lewa Nuva's mouth. The corners of it bent at an odd angle. The answer to both those questions is the same. You would be surprised, Hafu. Very surprised. To be continued.